Oh, yes, my video is on. Aumbon,
You are frozen.
I am frozen. Lord
Yeah.
have mercy.
Can you see me properly?
I see you very well. What about me
No,
now?
you are frozen. There's a picture, and your audio is a bit a static, but I can see you. I can hear you. I mean,
You can hear me. But I
yeah.
hear you as well. But as proceed as one with your offer, can we go?
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
already live. We're already live, and uh, because the time was ticking. So, thank you so much. Welcome to all of you that are joining us this morning in our program Leadership Lessons with Dr. Stanley Maphosa. I have the pleasure to be in the company of a young man that I know for almost 10 years or something like that now, when you are still very, very, very young. He's a grown up man now. So we really thank God for that. I will ask him to introduce himself. I won't introduce him, but I'll ask him to introduce himself. And I will ask those that are watching us right now, YouTube, to please share the broadcast so that others can learn these things. We do these things so that people learn. We are in a process of really educating young people, educating old people, educating all of us around leadership, and in the process bringing young people to speak for themselves. There's something that is called uh, nothing about us without us, and that's what the youth
Yes.
say. So we're bringing young people to speak for themselves. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what are you currently busy with? What makes you wake up in the morning and do something?
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Maposa. And thank you very much for the opportunity to come to this platform and have a conversation, very important conversation with you on such an interesting topic. My name is Jethro Mahlangu. I'm a born again child of God. I think it's very important for us to start there and mention that I'm a very born again child of God. Um, I am a town planner by profession. I graduated from the University of Pretoria in town and regional planning a while ago, a few years back. Um, I'm currently working as an urban inspector for in the public sector. Um, I I'm also continuing with my studies now. I'm doing my master's in real estate, MSc in real estate, still with the University of Pretoria. Doing my final year. Um, what am I currently busy with? I run a I've been a mentor for quite some time. I've gone through different organizations and different trainings in mentorship. I'm currently working with Excel at Uni. It's a mentorship or student development platform that accommodates um, that acts as a go between students that are recipients of bursaries and the BESA. So we have a group of people that are funding students in university, and Excel at Uni comes in and then provides student support and academic development. So then I'm one of the mentors under that organization. I also have my own mentorship organization called Inziga Resources. We do the same. We unlike Excel at Uni, we stretch it from high school and beyond university. So if you need a platform, if you need mentorship, we try and provide within the spectrum of youth from high school, from grade 10, and even in the workspace, we provide mentorship services for that as well. Um, well, going forward, I'm also participating highly in politics. I'm the deputy chairperson of a political organization in my ward, for the youth, the youth platform for it. So I'm a highly active person. I would like to think. I think I can do better, but that I think is currently what I'm doing. Yeah, thank you, Doc.
Wonderful, wonderful. A little bit of few questions on you, on what you are busy with before we can get into the meat of today's
Yes,
discussion, which is politics. You talked about your mentorship at the Excel Uni and also your own company, Insika Resources. Would you tell us
yes.
maybe what numbers you have reached in terms of mentoring, and do you think it's a successful program?
Wow. I think in terms of numbers, it's a it has proven to be successful. I would like to argue. I don't think I'll be doing justice to myself if I tell myself that it's it's useless. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. I think it's quite successful in a way that um, the organization at large, I think it has more than around 30 mentors, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And this is numbers for this year, where every mentor has plus or minus 4 students that they're mentoring in different institutions. Currently, I have with the organization that I'm dealing with, Excel at Uni, I have 4 mentees. Um, two from Wits, one from UJ, and the other one from a Brooklyn College. So we try by all means to cover different institutions, colleges, universities, and TVETs. So a bit of history. I've been with the organization since 2018, and I have seen around under my guidance. I think I've seen around 20 students graduate and transit to the workspace. Yeah. In Siga Resources, we have currently, for this year, we have 15 students that we're mentoring. This is students that currently taking their gap year. They still needed career guidance in terms of what they wanted to study next year. So some of them are currently taking their gap year. Some of them are currently in university, Wits, University of Pretoria, UJ, SWGC, University of Mpumalanga, yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we have other students that have already graduated as well that we are mentoring. And yeah, we're seeing great results, and it's been the great results have been a fuel to expand and try and have more coverage and have a bigger sphere of influence.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I really appreciate, in the average, you're dealing with about 20, 30 young people in the mentorship space on an annual basis, which is quite impactful and interesting. So, 2 more questions still on that. What is the content of the mentorship? What really do you mentor them on? What do you develop them on? What's, if somebody asked and said, I want to participate in this, what do they expect as they are being mentored?
Yes. As someone decides to or sees the need of being mentored, um, maybe let's start with how does one end up being mentored.
Yeah.
It's in twofold. Some identify the need themselves and say, I'm struggling. A good example is one student that I bumped onto on Facebook. So she wrote a status, or she updated a status on Facebook and said, I need a mentor, I'm struggling. And then one of my friends commented on that Facebook post and said, "Yeah, you'll be fine, stay strong." And because that person is my friend, that status appeared on my timeline, and then I commented and said, "I'm available if you are around Gauteng." And then that person inboxed me, and we started communicating. Turned out that she is in UJ, and she needed mentorship because she was struggling academically. She couldn't focus. She couldn't package her work to be able to be productive. So we had meetings. So basically, when one is being mentored, it's a professional friendship. A professional friendship that is targeted at yielding positive results in whatever that you're focusing on. So when we're talking about a student that is being mentored, it's a professional friendship that says we want to see you progressing academically. Now we sit down with you, you give us your schedule or your academic program, and then we understand how you are studying, we understand how you are engaging with your books, how you're engaging with your peers, how you're engaging with your lecturers, how you are engaging with yourself and your time. And we try by all means to say, present different options, because remember, we are not an all-knowing organization. And if a mentor comes to you and says that they are very wise, they know everything, it becomes tricky there, because
You must run away.
I don't think there will be some kind of honesty there, because how to manage time also depends on a person themselves. I know for myself, I work nicely at night, so I'm the type that would relax the whole day, watch Netflix, and then from 9 o'clock work until 6 o'clock in the morning. And there are people that can't cope with such things. So we will sit down, understand your strength, understand your capabilities, and then have constant conversations on how and present different ideas. Important to the entire process is monitoring progress and monitoring and evaluating if whatever that we have implemented for that time is yielding products. If it's not, then we go back to the drawing board and see whatever that we can try. But a mentor is also someone who's being mentored, who's also learning from someone else. Could be the same process that's being duplicated with the mentee, or it could be that they're learning through webinars, they're learning through academic information that has been presented online, whatever the case may be. But they're also constantly upgrading themselves so that they can be of a better and efficient service to whoever they are mentoring at the time.
Wonderful, wonderful. I really like that. Maybe we'll come back to that some other day. I just wanted to understand the process, and also how you get your students. And you have indicated already that maybe it's referrals, and some of them you get from Facebook and other places. But the last question on what you do, you seem to be doing a lot of things: work, school, mentorship, politics. Do you have time to rest? Do you have time to relax?
That's a tricky one, Doc. Paul says, "I speak to you, oh young men, because you are strong." So that's how we try, by means, to condition ourselves to say that we still have the energy. We'll rest when the time comes. When age catches up with us, we'll then try and rest. But now that we still have a little bit of power in our batteries, let us use it. And then when it then depletes, that's when we're also going to come down. But above everything, I think I try by all means to rest, but it's not necessary, because some of the things that I'm doing are not seen, or I don't see them as work, because they're almost a second nature. So if someone was to call me now and say, we are, for example, last week we had a campaign to encourage people to vote, to go and register. I was there effortlessly because it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about engaging with people, to be in political spaces, to have a word in what they're going to see as the future. If someone says, I'm struggling, I don't need a mentor, I need someone that's going to guide me on a career guidance path. I just need one session. Let's talk. We can go on a video call. I can meet you. We can have a conversation. I don't see it as work. I can come and relax and watch YouTube like other kids. So it's not really that draining.
No, I like it. I like it. You have already introduced our topic for today, which is politics and the role of young people in the space of politics. So we'll discuss 4 areas: youth in communities, youth in schools, youth at national level, and youth in the church. Let's start with community level, because you have already indicated that you are a member of a ward and you are a deputy chairperson of a particular party that we are not going to mention here in case we are campaigning for them. But I know the party and you know it. So let's leave it there for now. So do you think, wena Mahlangu, do you think ukuthi abantu abatsha they are actively participating? Let's start from a local point of view. In the village, there are some youth that are in the village that are watching us right now. There are some that are in townships. There are some that are in informal settlement, also called squatter camps. There are some that are in the city center, downtown Hillbrow, Uville, in Johannesburg, and other places across the country, downtown. Do you think there is space and there is willingness for young people to participate in local politics?
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. It's a very important question. I think above everything, before we even go to youth specifically, I think participation in politics in general is very low in the country. If we look at the numbers of people that have voted, if you look at the data of people that voted and compared to the population size that we have, you will see the difference between the two. So in general, there's low participation in politics. And now going to the different types of communities that you've mentioned. The different types of communities come with their different characteristics. Going to participate in politics or not. I don't know if we're losing you there, Doc.
Yes,
but
yes, you're coming
if I'm
now,
to continue and say, Doc, are you with me?
Yes, I'm here. I'm with you. I see you are frozen. Me, I'm not frozen. but I think we have a small challenge in network. I suppose it's on your side. Are you hearing me? Hello. We have a small challenge here on the network. I don't know if you are hearing us. If you are hearing us, say amen. If you are hearing us, you know, some of these network things are jealousy and yes, we are back.
Okay. I think
yes, you are still explaining the various geographical locations, rural, informal, whatever.
Yes. I was saying the different
Oh Lord.
that will inform whether an individual is going to participate or not. For example, if you look at rural areas, given the rural areas, the history of rural areas, obviously these are previously disenfranchised communities. That means there's quite a vast number of services that are lacking that side. including broadband and connectivity. What young people are accustomed to, or what we as young people are used to, is being involved in social media spaces. So if you would seclude that community from being involved in things like the global community through social media or through network, their participation is obviously going to weaken in almost everything, and that also includes politics. Also, what defines whether someone is going to participate is the need or the history of whether the community has been attended to.
I think we have a network issue. Maybe I would suggest if you are able to switch off your video, maybe it's affecting your bandwidth, and just speak on. Are you able to switch off your video and do audio?
I've switched off my camera.
Yes, yeah. You are clear now. Continue. You were talking about the availability of social media and stuff. Just continue. I think our listeners are following.
Yes. Basically, what I find is that there's low participation in spaces like rural spaces because almost secondary. So besides politics, they are left behind in almost everything. So there's going to be less participation. It doesn't mean that we don't have people that are define odds and educate what interpreting themselves in political spaces and participating fully in political spaces. It's just that the number of those activities is quite low. In projects, I think
our network is bumping. Yeah, bumping. I don't know what we need to do here. What do we need to do? Yeah, but are you hearing me well yourself?
Give me a sense. Let me go outside.
Yeah. Yes, we have some bit of network challenge. I see from my side, I think I'm okay. I'm not too sure whether it's also from my side, but I'm checking my things seem to be okay. Check from your side again, and because there's some sound. Finish. Maybe come out and join again. Hello? Hello, Mahlangu? Rejoin. Let me send you a message. Come out and join again.
I'm here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I hear you well now. I hear you well. So you're finishing up your point. Finish your point. Let's hear. Hello. Are you hearing me well now? Lord, have mercy on me. The devil is a liar in Jesus' name. Come out and join again. Let's see. Yes. Are you okay now? Hello. Hello. Yes, we are waiting for our guest to join again. We have a challenge of the network. I am not sure whether it's on my side or on his side. On the leadership lesson today, talking to a young person, Jethro Mahlangu, that is busy with mentorship of students at university, University of Johannesburg, UJE, University of Wits, University of Pretoria, Brooklyn College, among a number of other institutions where he has been working with young people ever since 2008. And he still continues to do that besides the work that he does on a day-to-day basis and his involvement in political activities. He has joined me back now, Mahlangu. You are in a car. Are you able to talk to me now? Hello. Hello, Mahlangu. Hello. 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 Unmute. Hello. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I changed a lot of things. I changed the connections and but I hope it's gonna
You
be
changed
fine
the
now.
venue.
I'm even sitting in the car.
No, I think, yes, you are seated in a car now. You are still finishing your point to say young people don't participate based on the geographical location. And
Yes,
generally, there is low
I think
participation. Yeah.
mm, mm, mm. I think
Yes,
just to wrap
continue.
it up, so because we've lost a bit of time, I was just saying that the infrastructure that we have in these different locations will also determine the amount of participation that we're going to have in general and also in young people. So the lesser the infrastructure, for example, in rural areas, townships, um, will probably not encourage young people to be part of politics, and also the lack of infrastructure as well can act as a trigger for young people to actually see that they're being left behind and want to participate so that they can see change happening in their communities. That is why you see politics being rife in spaces like in townships and in informal settlement, because they are pushing for they've seen
Service
a gap.
delivery. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they're pushing for service delivery. That's why you see young people leading in such spaces, as compared to Sentin, probably because one would expect that they living nice lives.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate that. But there are also, besides the participation using social media and that, there are meetings that
Yes,
the ward committee calls, meeting that the
yes,
councillor calls. Do you find young people attending those meetings, lifting up their hands and contributing? For example, where you are in your own ward.
yeah, yeah. Um, Comparing numbers, it's very unfortunate that we see more elderly, we see more uh, female elderly being part of community politics, community participation, and politics in general. In I think if we were to do a survey in my ward, we'll see that the majority of people that come out for the councillors meetings, the ward meetings, or any other community participation project that is called by whoever is calling it, it's normally the elderly females, as compared to young people or males in general. That's the reality of what we are facing. So one would obviously then question why that is
Yeah,
happening.
I'm coming
And
there. Why,
okay,
why is that so? You read my mind.
one would question why that is happening. I would it's for I think for the elderly female participation, it's mostly people that were involved in the struggle pre 1994 struggle. So they're still continuing. They've been indoctrinated to uh, advocate for the community, and they still continue to do that because they understand that politics or development in its own self is a moving target. So you can't say we're done, we're retiring, we're going to sleep. So that can never happen. But when it comes to young people, then not participating the way we would like to see them participating, it's because we have I would like to believe that there is two reasons for this. Reason one being the fact that we we have told ourselves that politics does not work. The conversation that you had with Apostle Lesang last week, I think, was saying, is politics a dirty game? I think that's the norm that we've, as young people, we've held on to say that politics is a dirty game. I'm not part of it. I'm walking away. And secondly, it's because we've preoccupied ourselves with a lot of things that we think are important. Well, that's debatable that they're important or not, but it has not it has not be, it has not been presented as a priority to us. I think that's one. This it being not presented as a priority to us is because we have not interacted with politics at face value. We have seen politics, we have seen politicians, we have seen our councillors, we've expected them to do a lot of things and they haven't done them, or they've done them, we're fine, we walk away. But we have not interacted with politics at face value. I'll make an example. For example, if someone was to be in a space where they find themselves in an injustice, that is where activism comes from.
Yeah.
But we've been our young people, especially in townships and urban spaces and wherever the case may be, have been have been encountered with a an injustice that has become a norm, that to an extent that they don't see it as an injustice.
They are part and parcel. They are part and parcel of the furniture.
Yes. For example, if we're looking at what young people have seen is that they grew up and then they went to township schools, and one teacher was teaching 4 subjects, and they went to township schools where there's pit latrines. They went to township schools where there's no water, there's no. But that has always been a norm. That has been always been a conversation that is something that we're used to as a community, to an extent that we don't see it as a problem, but we see it as the as how it's supposed to be. But
Yes.
if when we then compare with the elderly, they know an injustice because they've been faced with the brutal system that persecuted them every day and told them that they are not supposed to be here, they're not worth, they're not. But to us, what we've been presented with is what we've always known. So there's no other thing, there's no idea that has been presented, or there's no ideal that has been presented to us. Well, maybe there's no ideal that we've wanted to know. Maybe we can argue that way. But I think that's the reason, part of the reasons why we don't see young people participating. We're just preoccupied and we see everything as it should be, while it shouldn't be.
Yes. 2 questions again on that before we move to the next one. The first
Yes.
question is that there are various levels. We talked about the ward councillors meeting and the ward meeting and maybe the composition of that committee. There is also the clinic setup. There is a clinic committee. There is also the SGB, the governance of the school. Do you find young people being members of those critical committees? Because the ward committee for me is a critical committee, the committee of the school, the committee of the clinic, even the neighborhood watch committee, which deals with crime issues. Do you find young people being members of those critical groups?
It's very unfortunate, Doc, that these groups that you're mentioning are quite critical to community progress, politics, and whatever organizations that they are focused in. They are critical to its success. But now, we find that in spaces, I'll talk about the ward community, for example. I work in urban management, and at ward level, and the the key stakeholders that uh, that are important in a ward space are the ward communities, because I have to engage them almost every time.
Yeah.
But then I've never what we meet in my ward, in Ward 62 in town, is that we're recycling the same people, the same young people, because we want it to be young people that are working. We're
Yeah.
recycling the same young people because there's no available young people to do it. That's one issue. Secondly, when we're talking about the SGBs, and we have a represent with in school meetings, we're supposed to have a representative of the LRC,
Mhm.
Learner Representative Council, is supposed to
Yes.
sit in those meetings and represent the ideas of young people. But they have that role has been abandoned to quotas, or it has been abandoned to whoever feels, because it's now not regulated by the department, but it's regulated by the school, and they easily sidelined, because part of it is because there's no participation of young people, and
Yes.
you don't want to be a young person sitting in a round table with um, uh, old people that don't speak the same language as you. So systematically, um, young people are not participating because the one would argue that the system is rigged against them. Secondly, they don't participate because the need for them is not there to
Yeah.
participate. I would argue, yeah,
Wonderful. Maybe we'll come back to that. You have already introduced the school matter. You
yeah,
were active in Fees Must Fall. And we saw some of your pictures there, running up and down. And that's what students do. Maybe when you come to a university or a tertiary space, you meet other children from other communities, and they begin to show you some injustices, and they maybe you cross pollinate ideas. And as a
yeah.
result, some of these student activism are born, and many of our politicians, maybe including yourself as a young person, get to be born from that. Do you think student activism has a place, and what was its impact on you?
Um, I think student activism has always been, well, has defined how I look at society, because or my participation in almost everything that I'm doing now is as a result of my participation in student activism. From courses, the one that I was just laughing at, from courses in high school to the South African Student Congress in varsity, and to the nationally recognized movements that we have been part of. So um, for a national movement like Fees Must Fall to 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 start, it was simply because um, some of us that come from poor backgrounds, that come from unfortunate, well, underprivileged communities, were
Yes.
faced with a situation where we did calculations. It was towards the end of the year. We did calculations, and the escalation of the tuition fee for the coming year meant that we're not going to be able to come back to school. And at that point, you're in third year, you're doing your final undergrad year, you're thinking 2 years, all these 2 years that I've wasted here, and I'm not coming back to finish my course. I let's just see what's gonna happen. Be militant, or stay home. So that was the challenge that we were faced with. So that was an injustice that I was confronted with, that then propelled my need for activism also to issues beyond, because beyond Fees Must Fall, there was Africans Must Fall in my institution, which is the University of Pretoria, where we said it's either there's a we teach students with all 11 official languages, or you use one which is a neutral ground, which is English. We can't have a school um, being we can't have a school teaching only English and Afrikaans. That's an upper hand for another community. So such injustices then would obviously push me to say that I've seen what, or will open my eyes to say that I've seen how a community can be um, um, unjust. Then what now? Then we fight.
No, that's wonderful. I like that, that stance to say there was a calculation. There was some assessment and some research which was done that then informed this particular nationwide movement. But coming back to that, do you think the method of engagement, which maybe some of it ended up with the burning of property and stuff, would be something that we can repeat if we are faced with another injustice? Do you think that's the method of engagement that is best for young people to make their voices heard? Are there alternatives? Hello? You are frozen, Masham. Hello? You are frozen. When I ask some of these deep questions, this internet thing misbehaves. I'm asking Mahlangu here if young people have alternatives in terms of engaging with policymakers, with politicians, if they see injustice. For example, if they see injustice in fees, if they see injustice in housing, injustice in any other things, is striking, demonstrating, jumping up and down, burning property, the best approach of engagement. And I seem not to be getting him online here. I think the network is starting to act up. I can see you there, Learn Global. You say we need more public participation by young people who are the present and the future generation. They are the present and the future leaders. So would like to see them participate more. This network thing is giving me problems.
Yeah, I think
I think it's
it's the
the
deep
devil.
questions
It's
that
the devil. He's a liar.
I think it's the deep questions that scare away the network.
But did
But
you get my question? Yeah, before
um,
we got cut.
yeah, I think you were asking if the method of engagement from Fees Must Fall, is it, if we are to be faced with another injustice,
Is it the best
is
practice? Yeah.
it the best practice? Yes, I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, Doc. It's very unfortunate. I'm not gonna be political about this one. It's very unfortunate because what we're faced with is that what was unfortunate is that what the rest of the country saw was a revolt, which was not a conversation of a WhatsApp group to say that, hey, chance, it's bad out there. Let's go let's go bend things down, right? I can tell you with our institution, I think 2 months prior to the national shutdown, the University of Pretoria had released the stats it had released, and there was a conversation between students and the SRC to say that we have elected you to represent us. Can you go and communicate with the with the council of the school and say we are not going to be able to. We need to renegotiate these percentages of escalation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that did not yield the desired result. And then there was a protest inside the institution that did not go outside. There was a
Yeah.
protest inside the institution that did not disturb classes. That was just a march of different student organization. Almost all student organizations were represented. The EFF Student Command, PYA, DA, DASO, DA Student Association, AfriForum, almost all these organizations were represented in that small march that was in the institution, where students were marching to the administration building at the University of Pretoria to demand to speak to the vice chancellor, right? And then that also didn't yield results. And the wave caught on in different universities as different universities released their escalation percentages for the coming year. And the communications were done. Communications with the Department of Higher Education was done to say, come and negotiate with vice chancellors. And because there was then a collective effort to say that let us collectively, as different SRCs of different institutions, let us communicate and then try and push the Department of Higher Education to come and negotiate with our vice chancellors to at least reduce the escalation. That did not happen. And then when every avenue was exhausted, then it was to the streets. So to say then how then do we better avoid or is the modus operandi that happened there is it a good idea for it to happen? It's the worst idea to happen. It was the worst idea to do even back then. But it was an issue of saying, then what? After we have tried to negotiate with everyone in every possible way, in every method that is written on the ground, then what? If we are failing, because it wouldn't have helped to say that we have tried everything. I go back to class. We're gonna see next year. Everyone knew what was gonna happen next year. We're all not gonna be able to come back to campus because we're not gonna be well. Some obviously some were going to be able to because they could afford, but the bigger percentage
The
was not
majority,
gonna
yeah.
was not gonna be able to come back to campus. So it was then protest or stay home. So I would say it's what happened then is not the best idea. And it shouldn't even have to go there if politics is done properly. When we engage politically and we engage and we have a leadership that is in touch with its constituents and understand the dynamics and the demographics of its constituency, then we're never going to get there. Because if we're going to say we can't afford this, we're obviously going to come and sit on a round table and negotiate and say, okay, if you can't afford this, then what can you afford? What we can't afford as an institution is not to increase, because obviously, there's obviously an increase in economically. So for us to meet our targets, we have to increase. Then what can we increase? Then we negotiate from there. So I think most protests are unfortunate that we see them on the streets and we don't see the behind the scenes working off before the protest. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I like that. We have a follower here who's commenting, and let's just read the comments before we move to the next question. He says,
Okay.
"Everyone, old and young, must arise to demand accountability from their leaders. However, whatever is done must be done in the confines of Ubuntu and respect for one another." He's called Reverend Mbongeni Ncube. What do you comment about that?
Number one, I think that's the type of people that we need in society, because whoever is at a position of power was not did not just a suddenly materialize in power. We launched them there. We
We
if it's a
deployed them.
councillor, yes, we deployed them. If it's a councillor, it's a mayor, it's a premier, it's a president. They did not vote for themselves to be there. It was the community that trusted them with the authority. Therefore, they are accountable to that authority, and the community, as the main employer, must be able to come and say, come, let's reevaluate, let's account for what 1, 2, 3 has been done. So it's quite important that we have those, and it's quite important that our leadership also understands that they should be able to somehow create a platform where they come back to young people, come back to the people that deployed them, and then account, and be ready to account, not to play duck and dive and use big political jargons there to throw people off.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I like that. Let's come at a national level. Our time is messing up. If you will give me some extra 15 minutes of the time lost, I would appreciate if you're not busy.
No problem. No problem.
Wonderful, wonderful. We will push it a little bit because to cover our time.
Okay.
Let's look at the national space as well, starting from a province, district. I've participated in a lot of those meetings as part of my studies, because in my studies I was studying about youth participation in a decision-making process, and I engaged a lot. And one meeting that I participated in as part of my research was the Integrated Development Plan, the IDP.
Yes.
What I observed there is that political parties come to the IDP and they bring young people. They bus them. They bus young people to come and participate in the IDP. And in some cases, they'll be dressed in party regalia. You'll see the red, the yellow, the green, the orange, the what. And my worry about that is that youth are used as they are sponsored to participate. They are not participating as individuals, but they are participating as a party collective. And for me, it then leaves out those that are not politically active. It leaves out the other young people, because youth are not homogeneous. They are heterogeneous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think then busing young people to come and support a particular agenda is not genuine participation. What do you say?
Yeah. I'm on the fence.
You're on the fence. Yeah.
I'm on the fence with that one.
Take me
There's
on.
there's two approaches to it. One, well, it's unfortunate that in our political spaces, before we go to engagements like this, we have our umhabulo session. We have where we indoctrinate, not indoctrinate per se, but where we engage and say we have an IDP. What do we want to see reflected in the community, right? And then we identify one or two things and say this must be there economically. We want this participation. We want this here and there. And then we go to such engagement platforms with a solid or with a resolution from the organization, because it's an understanding that we can't all go there, so we need to deploy someone with the resolutions of the collective, right? So we go there with the resolution of collective and say what then, and then stand for that position. That becomes a good thing and both a bad thing, because the resolution of the collective will obviously limit the free thinking of an individual. So I think that's where we would, yes, you and I would meet there, because as an individual, if I'm given a resolution as a Jethro to say that we must not allow these bylaws to limit people from selling on the sidewalk. It must accommodate our vendors, because majority of us are poor and we're not able to access the mainstream economic activities. Therefore, we have to sell tomatoes on the streets. We can't have bylaws that are going to sabotage those small businesses and those people that are trying. So if that was the collective idea that I'm supposed to represent, and then in the engagement of the meeting, then Dr. Maphosa raises the point of chaos to say that if there's also the issue of saying those guys that are selling tomatoes are not depositing their money in the bank, they are not paying their taxes, therefore the city is losing revenue. How then do we compensate the city for providing the sidewalks and the services that are on the side of the road? How is the city benefiting from that to be able to so that the whole process can be sustainable? Because if those guys are sitting there, they're taking their money under their pillows and they're spending it, but there's no tax, there's nothing, there's no revenue that comes to the city. And as an individual, I see that Dr. Maphosa is raising a good point, but because I'm holding on to the collective idea.
Even if it's not from your same camp, it's from the other camp, but
Yes,
it's bringing something solid that develops the community.
Yeah, it becomes tricky for me then to abandon what I've been deployed to. I've been deployed to convey and then support. I don't want to be a sellout at the end of the day. So I mean, I think it will sabotage the whole the idea that way. So maybe to do it better, I think I think also the people that, or our leadership that requires participation in different policies, IDPs and all that. Maybe they are approaching it in a not so sustainable way. I think it has to somehow be in a platform that will be able to access as much people as possible. Yes. How am I? What do I mean by that? For example, I know we have when we're doing the engagements and the comments for the IDP, there is a date that is given to the councillor and say, councillor, advertise here that the Ward 62 is going to have an IDP conversation on this. Please engage. And then we would all go there, but because whoever goes there is mostly political, so it limits the content to politics. You don't have to be in a political party to participate in politics.
Yes.
So
I love that. Yeah.
We can have engagement platforms on social media where we are allowed to have comments, or a Jethro who's not subscribing to any political party but is concerned with the integrated development of the community, has an opportunity to then open another tab there at work and then read through the IDP and then make comments and then submit those comments. So it should be a multi-pronged approach in terms of participation and in different ways that can engage young people. And I think that's the only way. Engage different organizations. I know we try by all means to do your faith-based organizations where we try and send the IDP, but we don't get anything productive. It's because we don't put that much effort as the leadership who wants effort. We don't put that much effort in campaigning for such engagements, but we only focus on the ones that are ran under one roof, and then people raise their hands. It's just attention seeking. There's not much progress.
This is good. Let's connect the student activism and the national. A lot of leaders develop from student activism. They are presidents, they are in the SRC, they are what, from a number of countries. I can talk about Zimbabwe, the Lenmo Jongwe. I can talk about South Africa. Most of the people in the EFF, in the ANC, were initially students in taking part a lot in the student activism. But some of them, when they leave university and they join the national parties at parliament, their voices get to be silenced. They are no longer as radical as the Jethro that we know in the Fees Must Fall. What happens there that makes the radical young people, when they get to national, to provincial politics, somebody pours some cold water on them. and the activism and the advocacy and the radicalism and the change they were promising us is dead. What happens?
We used to have a term. We used to have a term, doc, in varsity, and then say when someone is becoming a problem, we'll say, no, don't worry about this one. We'll deal with them politically. Meaning that when we deal with you politically, it's very simple. Um, we take you and say, go and hold the portfolio for social events, where you are going to organize prize for us. You are going to come here to us and ask for budget. We give you budget. You organize a prize for us there and engage young people. And that's how we deal with you political. Because in a position that you are in, you are a noise maker now. You are becoming a program. You are hindering an agenda that we've agreed upon. So that's how we deal with people political. So there's two things to it. One would be to say that we are some of us, some of very active young people that we have seen as the hope of South African politics, have been deployed in spaces where they can't make noise.
Yeah.
Be it was a strategic being dealt with politically, or it was the only vacancy that was there. Young people are not in positions where they can be able to advocate for a lot of things because of the position that they're in. It would be very weird for someone to find themselves in telecommunications and start saying that when they start advocating for in situ upgrade of informal settlements. We are saying stick to your lane. You have your own portfolio that we've given you, focus on that one. But we know, had we given you a platform where you are supposed to represent people that are disenfranchised, like your informal settlement or your rural spaces, we were going to hear from you every day because you are passionate about it, because we know what you are capable of. So in some cases, we find ourselves in that position where our young people that we see as the hope are deployed in spaces that they don't have a platform to be themselves the way they are. Secondly, it's it's unfortunate that politics is not only for the community, but it's also a career path.
Okay.
So I think that's a reality in almost everywhere, in almost every space where you go into politics. You are going for employment, and you have to feed your family. And
it's politics of the stomach.
yes,
And the mouth.
in the mouth. That is why I've always said that it's very problematic to say this one is focusing on the politics of the stomach, where all of us are focusing on this politics of the stomach, because when we're in politics, we all want to eat and serve. Serving is also there, but we also want to eat. Then when the scales but those scales need to balance, because as much as you're going to eat, you also need to serve. But when we are in positions of saying challenging the status quo, that works for a certain group of people, and then you are told that, comrade, if you continue with this problematic behavior of yours, we're going to ship you out of here. Now you know that being shipped out of here is unemployment, and so it's quite a lot that goes into it. So I think being silenced, we can be silenced in that manner. And also, Doc, universities is a very closed space.
Yes.
It's easy to manage. It's easy to manage a university, and it's easy to be famous in a university politically.
Yeah.
We had a time when we were doing after Fees Must Fall, after Africans Must Fall, after all these movements, we were celebrities on campus. We could manage the space. And then when you are taken out of that space that you can easily manage and thrown to the deep end of national politics, not even community politics,
Yeah.
you are all over the place. You don't know where you belong, because remember, there you had a simple objective. Make sure we had my organization had a slogan that SASCO is your best friend on campus. You are supposed to be the best friend of a student and understand their struggles. It's quite impossible to do that in a bigger scale with the resources that you have and with the influence that you have. So you find yourself that you find yourself in a department or in a political portfolio that is a lot of people that are already established, and you are trying to learn from them in the process, learning bad behaviors and learning how to be stale in a way, because that's what we see from our politicians most of the time.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's come to the church in the last part of our discussion. You indicated clearly when you started that you are a born again Christian and you are emphasizing that.
Yes.
Do you think that the church youth have an understanding of their role in politics? Number one. Number
Yeah.
two, the pastors and the church leaders, do you think they are supporting young people like you to really go into politics and fulfill what you feel you are called to do? Or when you come into church and you are from Fees Must Fall, you meet a pastor who starts to open up verses and crush you and discourage you and say we don't want this, what do you find in a church space as a young person that is in the political space and others?
Yeah, but isn't zomhlaba.
Akutshiyane neto zomhlaba siyale ekhaya.
Do I think young people in church participate in politics?
Yes.
I no, to put it simply, when I'm saying no, I mean they're not doing enough. We might have one or two that are doing it. For example, my organization, there's probably one or two that are actively participating in politics and actively on the on the abreast with whatever that is happening in politics and doing all this and that. Simply, I think the before we even go to young people, one would then question if the church itself is participating, because to some extent, whatever that we're going to see in young people is being reproduced by the leadership of the organization, and we don't see that often. We don't see it enough. It might happen here and there, but we don't see it enough. So um what the young people has what the young person in a church has been indoctrinated or taught to do is to pray, live a pure life, and have faith, and do all these kinds of things that the Bible says you must do,
Go to
which
heaven.
is yes, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
but it leaves a big part of your life, or a big portion of your life, your livelihood, let me put it that way, unattended to. Because what I've always said is that whether you are part of politics or not, politics will still change your life. Whether you are part of politics or not, you are still going to pay 15% VAT where you were paying 14 before.
I
And
love that.
it's not like you're going to bake your own albani every day for you to avoid that 15%. Either way, if you tried, we're going to sell you flour and put that 15%. So whether you like it or not, politics is going to be part of your life, and politics is going to affect you. So rather be part of the decision than to watch from the sidelines, because we don't have the same conditions of life. So as a rich guy that I am in Sandton, I wouldn't mind a 15% VAT. But when with your shack there, that 15% is going to do some damage. So rather go and voice that part of your life and make sure that you are catered for, so that when politics affect you, and you are aware of it. So young people are not participating. Do we get mentorship? Do we get guidance? Do we get leadership from our pastors in terms, or encouragement um, in terms of politics? I don't think we get it enough. Um,
It's ad hoc, it's here and there.
I was a bit fought here and there in my organization, because it most political programs happen on weekends, which is Saturday, Sunday. And in some cases, I would have to not be at church to be in politics. One would understand why someone would want me to be in church and not in politics. Well, someone would understand why one would want me to be in church, maybe not sure why not in politics, because it's a different conversation. But I think we need active mentorship and deliberate mentorship of politics, because it's a solution to a lot of our problems. I was reading a scripture a while ago, when King Darius was approached. King Darius was not approached by a prophet or by one of the witch doctors, spirit mediums of the time, or whatever the case might be. He was approached by administrators. I think the right words are administrators, and when it's translated as government workers, or so he was
Civil
approached
servants.
political. He was approached politically to impose a act or a law that says the God of the Israelites must not be worshipped, right? So it works for us. We are sabotaging ourselves as a church, because it works for us if we send a Jethro that understand one or two things about the Bible, and then we launch him to represent us there, and then he start influencing. The decisions, approach, and the philosophies of different political organizations. Because if we don't, we are going to have fun on Sunday from 9 to 12, and then live a horrible life the rest of the week, because the rest of the week is governed by politics. Whether you're going to drive at 10 p.m. or not, because it's a curfew, that's a political decision that was taken. So you are going to have a tricky life there.
This is interesting. This is getting very, very, very interesting. What you are saying, that young people need to participate. Actually, the whole church need to participate in politics, because even fuel, even fees, everything is politics. Actually, in one of my definition of politics in my books, I say politic is called policy ethikos, and it means how we do business where we stay. It's from a Greek philosopher who developed politics. So it's beyond just governance.
Exactly. Politics is management, community management, basically. If you look at it from a town planning perspective, from the history of town planning, is that when a church was built, when you did a layout of a community, or a plan of a town, what you're going to do is that we're going to build a church in the middle of the society, and then houses around it. And in the church, that's where politics happened. The management of people, distribution of food parcels, the justice system happened there. When you did wrong, we took you there. And the reason why it was in the middle, because it was the most important place of the community. Therefore, it needed to be protected at its best. So if then something happened along the line, and those two houses separated, where politics decided to, where people decided to take politics outside the church, and then we say, when that separation happened, it left with certain powers that are still relevant to the church and that must still be managed. We must go there and fetch those powers. We're not going to build towns and put a church in the middle of the town now, but we have spaces where we can take ourselves as individuals and be part of politics to make sure that we retain powers of the church in politics.
This is amazing. This is amazing. I like the distribution of parcels from the church. I think we see that in Acts chapter 6,
Yes,
where the distribution was happening and there was some xenophobia there, tribalism.
yes, yes,
And
yes,
then
yes,
they
yes.
said, no, let us select some men that will be responsible for politics while we as the pastors continue with the prayer and the word.
Yeah.
In your activities as the youth in the church, do you find that besides preaching John 10, verse 10, you engage young people to think differently in your church? You are both a political leader in your ward, but you are also a youth leader in your church, and you have programs that you put together. Do you put
Yeah.
together programs where young people come in there and you say, okay, today we will read half of the time we'll do John 10, verse 10. But the remainder of the time we'll engage on mentorship, we'll engage on politics, we'll engage on development, we'll engage on some of the things that are relevant to where we live now. Because we don't live in heaven. We
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I think I would be misguiding you if I say we do political sessions at church there. If I'm not mistaken, my pastor might be watching there, and then he would throw in a comment and say, "This Morena is lying there." But one thing that we have tried by all means to engage with young people is that the dual identity that young people have assumed is the problematic one. To say that you are this type of person and then you are this type of person outside. To say that if you are a young person that is full of energy that can dance, why are you not dancing in church? Because you have the skill to do that. So if you then integrate all that is you and make it one person, you will be able to take the you that we see in church and take it to the community and lead. If you are the nice person that kneels in front of old people and carries their bags and put them and ushers them to their seats, we are going to see that personality in the community. And that is servantship, that is community leadership, that is politics. Because politics is not voting. Politics is the management of the community, is a
Yeah.
platform where power has been entrusted to individuals to lead the community. So I think that's one thing that we're still trying to coach and teach our people, to say that it's not. I think we've progressed to some extent to say that it's not taboo to talk about business. It's not taboo to have business seminars in church. Therefore, it shouldn't be taboo to have political conversations at church. Not to come and with me come wearing my full regalia and then say, comrades, let's vote for that gentleman. No, not that. But have a platform where we're going to be where we're going to allow different political ideas to be explored in church, and say, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing this. You know your condition. After 12, when you knock off on Sunday, we go to different houses, we go to different situations. You know your conditions. Therefore, which one in these five gentlemen speaks to your need? Then go and vote, because however you're going to vote is going to attend, or is going to be a solution to, probably one of the solutions to whatever that you are facing. So I think we're trying to progress in the issue of business, and I think we should take a step further and do that with politics, and allow and not see politics as a taboo, because it runs us. We pay rent in most of these places, and market value is is politically influenced as well. So I mean, if we want to
Wonderful.
not pay, then let's be clever.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like that. I think me and you must arrange this kind of discussion, God willing, where we bring in different political players in our community and engage in a dialogue forum and say, we are not supporting any of you, or if we support some of you, we're not going to be public about it, but let's engage. Why do you exist? And what are you promising? Because we are going to vote. And how are you going to do different things differently? And allow this discussion in the church. As you are saying, we have grown to allow business. We have grown to allow the discussion about sex. It was not discussed.
Yes.
Now we need to discuss the politics in church.
Definitely.
I agree with you.
There's no other way. There's no other way.
And in some cases, even music, in some churches, we didn't allow different kinds of music. When I grew up, even playing a guitar was a sin. They were saying it's the devil's ribs, Satan. But but we have grown to accept those things, and because there were some advocates, there were people that were pushing that idea until we realized that the guitars are good, until we realized that business is good, until we realized that sex is good. It must be discussed in church. So me and you must make people realize that politics is good. It must be discussed inside the church.
Definitely, because when we, you see, when these evolutions, when these evolutions that we are mentioning happened, the one thing was not that it's only good, but it was that it affects the majority of your life. Yes. When we talk about business, we're talking about the difference between someone going to sleep hungry or full. Yeah. When we're talking about sex, we're talking about the difference between someone sinning or not sinning, the difference between someone the health factors of someone, and the reality is that these young people that we're leading, they are partaking in different things, and we must not act oblivious of what is happening and pretend like we're not seeing the reality of what is happening. We must attend to these issues. And when the same applies to politics, we can't pretend as if we are living in our own economy, we're living in our own governance, we're living in our own protected utopia. There's things that we are subject. There's almost everything that we're subject to is subjected through politics. The church is not a custodian of any policy. It's not a custodian. Even the policy that governs the church is we're not custodian of. We don't control. We don't manage. Not regulate that policy. We are consulted on that policy. Yes. But the rest is done in political spaces, right? So it's very tricky when we then say we're not going to be part of politics, when everything that is done, when we are not in charge of any systems that govern the community. The best that we can do is distribute food parcels, but that's not enough.
Yes. Two last things before we close. There are two terms that are interesting that youth are pushing. The first one is called the quota system. To say for every adult, there must be a youth. I think youth and women are pushing the quota system. Is the 50-50. 50 young, 50 old, 50 women, 50 men. I want you to comment on the quota system. The second one is something called generational mix.
Generational mix. Yes.
So what are those two concepts for somebody who doesn't know? What is generational mix and what is the quota system?
Okay. Let's start with the quota system. The quota system is simply representation. Understanding, given our history as a country, as a race, as a continent, probably as a population in general, almost everything that has to do with leadership, that has to do with management, has been in the custody of white male. And then obviously evolved and it became in the custody of males, to an extent that we are in our political structures, in our leadership structures, in almost everything. The dominating part of our population has always been male. And old male. Let's put it that way. So the quota
Gray,
system then
gray,
comes.
gray and male.
Yes.
Gray hair
So
and male.
the quota system then comes to say, given our history, let us try and correct the past and provide opportunities to different people, different pockets of our population. Let's put young people there and have them represented. Having them represented means that we're going to have the idea of what young people want. Let's put women there and have them represented, and also express the majority thinking approach of women. Comment on that one. I think it's not a bad system. It's just badly implemented. It's not really a bad system. It's a perfect system, because um you would expect, if we say it wouldn't work to say that let us put young people there because they deserve to be put there.
Yeah.
It probably would work against us, because we're already dealing with someone who is already, if we're going to bring CVs, we're dealing with someone I, as a young person, I can't compete with someone with 20 years experience already. So somehow you need to push me up or you need to lift me up to be able to compete. The fact that that person has 20 years experience does not mean that they can outthink me in issues of community management. I still have a few things to offer that an older person might not have. I still have the age, I still have the strength, I still have the capability, I still have the innovation, I still have the creativity. So there's there's definitely a need. Therefore, I think the quota system is a good system that just needs to be managed properly and implemented properly. Um, Moving to the second one, you said the second one is the
Generational mix. I think they are almost
generational mix.
related. Yeah. Yeah.
Generational mix is basically trying to there's a term that they call ageism.
Okay.
Ageism is when we sit and say, mostly ageism is when we find the gray headed friends of ours being secluded in most things, because we're saying they're old, they're tired, they're frail, they can't do much, right?
Yeah.
So generational mix is trying to counter the idea of ageism, to say that as much as we are young, as much as we have potential, as much as we are sharp in mind, we have energy, we are creative, we are innovative. There's a lot that we can learn from experience. There's a lot that we can learn from someone who has walked a longer mile. Well, there's a lot that we can learn from a mentor. I'm a very big person on mentorship, so I understand generational mix. It's important. We can't then start chasing everyone away and say government must be run by people who are 35 years and younger. There's a lot that we haven't seen.
The
There's
same
a lot
also
that,
applies. The same also applies to church. You can't say all
yes,
old pastors, all everyone above 50 go. We want new blood.
definitely, definitely. So, so the idea there is that we be able to have the generational mix, where we are going to be able to learn from each other. How do we learn from each other? We put an idea and say, and they deliberate on the idea. One would come with their 20 years experience and then say, I think we should go this way. And then a young person like myself, who watched a documentary about what happened in Argentina when we went that way, will come in with ideas and say, but learning from other countries, this happened, I think we should maybe compromise and come here. And then that's how we interact and are able to learn from each other. But it's also done wrongly, because what it's also implemented wrongly in our context, because what's happening is that you will have your gray-headed guys being the ones at the top, and then we have us young people deputizing, and we don't have that much authority in terms of ideas. When a gentleman there who has going an extra mile comes and says this must be done this way because they're in a position of power, they easily implement. But on face value, that it looks like a generational mix. It looks like a Jethro you deployed from varsity and said go represent us there is actually not doing his job. But I'm silenced because I don't have that much authority in my capacity, but I'm just a prop sitting there looking like generational mix when it's not. So if we are to do it properly, then give equal power to everyone, deliberate on issues, and then that's where we're going to start seeing the results and the good products of generational mix.
Wonderful, wonderful. I can talk to you, Jethro, the whole day. And that's why I promised you that I'll call you again, and maybe,
yes,
God willing, we'll put together that particular discussion with different
definitely.
political players. But it has been a pleasure to have you here, and you really, really answered all my questions. And I think all people that are looking at us here enjoyed this presentation. I'd ask them to tag others, share with others, invite others, and watch out for a next discussion with Jethro Mahlangu. What are your parting shots? People are voting. It's voting time. You are encouraging people to register. What are your parting shots before we go?
My parting shots is that I said in the beginning, I quoted when Paul wrote to I think I can't remember who he was writing to, but he said, "I speak to you, O young men, because you are strong." And there's another scripture that's, I think it's Titus, if I'm not mistaken, that will speak about don't let them despise you in your youth, but in a sense you must be exemplary in your word, conversation, faith, and all these nice things. What I take out from that scripture is that young people are the role models of society. We are supposed to be watched, not to watch from the stands. We are supposed to be in a position to lead and show people how things are done. We have so much influence. If you look at social media, if you look at community, if you look at different things, where we are, where we put our energy in, we effect change. Take it back to 1976, take it back to 2016, take it back to take it back to these lootings that happened. When young people put their backs on something, there's influence that happens. Let us do the same with voting. Let us do the same with politics. Let us do the same with community leadership. Put our backs on it and make sure that we lead the communities, we lead the society, we lead in political spaces, we lead in business spaces. We go and vote. We go and vote. It won't yield that much if we're going to sit on the sidelines and complain and say politics is for those ones and those ones, and we don't do anything about it. We have the energy, we have the power. Let's go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. There you are. You get it from the proverbial horse's mouth. I can't add, I can't subtract anything. Jethro Mahlangu has concluded our discussion today, and I want to close it here. May God bless you. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye bye.